Okay, it looks like I've got a connection with everyone. Mr. Gibson, can you hear me? Well, maybe not. Mr. and Mrs. Ostrander, can you hear me? Oh, well, I can't hear anybody. I'm wondering if they can hear me.
Hello?
All right, you were both muted.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Ostrander, you need to unmute.
Why ain't it?
All right, Ms. Ostrander, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Gibson, can you hear me? That's what I was afraid of. I wish this thing had let me send a message. Well, maybe I can send a message by changing his name. Let's try that.
Yeah, I can't see none.
Mr. Gibson. Yeah, he can't hear. Let me see if I can find a phone number. We'll try that. All right, let's try this.
Hello.
Mr. Gibson,
Hi.
we saw you in the courtroom, but you clearly couldn't hear us and we couldn't hear you.
No, I couldn't.
That's probably an audio setting on your device. Are you using a phone for that purpose?
Yes, sir.
I'm not exactly sure. What type of phone is it?
I'll go back, but maybe I can just tell you what is going on.
Well, you can participate by phone. It looks like you can't do that and Zoom at the same time. So we'll just go with that. Shannon, put us on the record, please.
Go ahead.
All right, I have two different PPO matters. One is the matter of Golden Gibson versus Christiana Ostrander. And the other is Golden Gibson. It says Golden Gibson Jr. versus Ostrander. Mr. Gibson, are you Golden Gibson Jr.?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I just want to make sure I had the same person because I saw
Yeah,
a Golden Gibson III somewhere in one of the files. Would that be your son?
yes, that's my son.
Okay, so it looks like we've got everybody here on both of these matters. In the Gibson versus Harold Ostrander matter, we have a motion by Harold Ostrander to terminate the PPO. But I see that, Mr. Ostrander, you previously filed a motion to terminate the PPO, and Judge McBain dismissed it. He denied your request. You can't keep filing motions to terminate a PPO. You get one chance. If you're successful, great. If you're not successful, that's the end of the matter. You can't just go ahead and file another one.
He dismissed himself from the case for being biased. That's
He
the reason
didn't
why I
actually-
didn't get a hearing.
I got you. So he didn't actually deny your motion?
No, I never
thought
had.
All right, fair enough. Thank you for clarifying. The reason I said that is I saw two different motions.
Yeah,
Uh,
they told me I had to resubmit another one, so I did. another one.
Okay, we're good then, sir.
All right,
We're
thank you.
good. Okay, so Mr. Gibson, when there is a timely motion challenging an ex parte PPO, that means one that was issued without a hearing, as were both of your PPOs in this case. The only way I can keep the PPOs in place is take testimony and decide based on your testimony whether or not there should have been a PPO in the first place. So you have the burden of proof on both of these motions. It sounds like they all arise from the same core facts. That's why I can hear them both together. So what I'm going to do, Mr. Gibson, is I'm going to start with you. I'm going to put you under oath. I'm going to question you. And then once I'm done questioning you, I'm going to ask both Mr. and Mrs. Ostrander if they have any questions for you. Once we're finished with their questions, then I will put each of them under oath and I will hear from them, assuming you've stated enough in your case that would justify me issuing a PPO or keeping a PPO in place. If we don't get that far, then I would simply dismiss at the end of your testimony. I don't know what I'm going to hear, so I'll wait to determine that. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Gibson. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, please. You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down now. I need you to tell me your full name.
Golden Roy Gibson Jr.
Okay, Mr. Gibson, what, if any, what's your connection with Christiana and Harold Ostrander? How is it that you've had contact with them?
Judge, may I ask, and Corey McClure is representing me, and he couldn't be here this morning. Is there another time that we could have this transferred, or do you want to continue?
I don't have an appearance filed by any attorney on your behalf.
Okay, he asked me this morning to ask if we could have a few minutes or a few days, but that's okay. I can tell you what happened.
Okay, go ahead.
We can go from there.
Tell me what happened.
I bought a piece of property from Tim, and I went to serve. I did serve 7-day and 30-day notice to quit.
So you bought
to
this,
Harold and his wife.
who did you say you bought property from?
I'm trying to think what Tim's last name is.
Let me
What
look.
is Tim's last name?
Let me look through the file and see if it's.
Gazinski. Tim
Sir.
Gazinski.
You need to wait your turn.
Okay, sorry.
We'll give you a chance. All right, and this property is looks like it's located on Center Lake.
Yes, at 136 Cook's Landing.
And what exactly is located at 136 Cook's Landing? Just describe what's there.
It is a 2-bedroom house and garage.
Okay, and when did you become the owner of that property? I don't need an exact date, but I would like an approximate date.
I think March 12th.
And at the time you purchased this property from Mr. Gudzinski, it was occupied by Mr. and Mrs. Ostrander?
Yes.
So on what day did you go to serve them with notices to quit?
March 14th.
Okay, and on March 14th, what occurred?
Well, it was kind of like a celebration. I had talked to Harold that Sunday, and he said to come on out, but he said he had he was working with his father, so we couldn't meet. So my son and 2 other individuals were celebrating a birthday, and it was kind of like a celebration for our family and the church. Because there's never been a Black family in Jackson County to own a piece of lakefront property. It was more or less to show my son and them what we were doing and how we were going to do it. But I had also been warned by Jake, the ordinance officer at Leone Township, not to go there by myself to do a 30-day notice to quit, because they had numerous problems with Harold, and there were quite a few citations or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, I have that.
Let's back
And,
up. Hold on. Let's back
Yes,
up
sir.
just a minute. So you said you closed on March 12th, and then on Sunday, you had a conversation with Mr. Ostrander?
Yes, sir.
That
That following Sunday.
Well, wait a minute. Sunday following the 12th?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what was the date on the Sunday?
I don't have that date right now. So.
All right, let me pull up a calendar and see if I've got it. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure my timeline is accurate here.
We have that 30-day notice.
Okay, so March 12th would have been a Friday. The Sunday immediately after that would have been 2 days later on March 14th.
Yeah.
So you said on March 14th you had a conversation with Mr. Ostrander. And tell me again what he told you.
I was going to go to the property, and he said to meet him there that he was doing some work with his father. And I did go to the property, but he wasn't there. And I did wait and wait, but when I did talk to him, he said that he was pulling trees with his father.
All right.
And
So,
then I called his father, and his father said no, he hadn't seen Harold. So the next morning,
so this would have been Monday morning,
the
15th.
15th,
Okay. What happened on that Monday morning?
I went to the property with my son and John and Mr. Truman. And I knocked on the door, and Christina came to the door, and I told her I was there to serve the 30-day notice and the 7-day notice for eviction, and that I was buying the property, or bought the property. And she said, well, Harold is not home. And I said, okay, I'll wait for him. And she said, well, no, just leave the paper on the door, in the door. So that's what I did. And I took a picture of that. And I had John witness it. And we walked around the property. It was lakefront. It's a pretty rough piece of property. And as we were coming back around the front, Mr. Ostrander runs out the door and starts with a gun and starts chasing me and my son and John around the property with a gun that I thought was a real gun, but it turned out that it wasn't, calling us niggers and bitches and get the hell off of his MF property. And my son took a video of all of this.
So let me stop you again. When you purchased the property, did the seller tell you that the Ostranders were lawfully in possession of the property as tenants?
He said that they were living there, and he had not received any payments or anything, rent payments from Harold in the last year, and that he was afraid of Harold because Harold had put a gun to his head. And there's a lot to that.
All right. Well, what's clear in your mind is at least when you bought it, you knew they were living there, and that you were going to have to evict them from the premises in order for you to take possession of it. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. That's helpful to me. So I interrupted you when you were telling me about Mr. Ostrander waving what you thought was a gun.
He came around the house and started screaming and hollering. He had a AK-47 resemblance machine gun or whatever they are, and called us a bunch of names. And my son had recorded all of this on his cell phone. And so his wife called the police. We called the police also. And Harold wanted to leave, but we weren't pulling our cars out to leave. The Blackman Township officers came. There were 7 of them. And of course, they talked to Christine, and they talked to every individual there. There's quite a lengthy police report. They did go in the house and search for they got a search warrant. They went in the house and they asked me and everybody else to leave while they searched the property. I know that Mr. Ostrander was arrested at that time for some kind of warrant or something. And Mr. Grumhouse was the major officer. And there's been like 41 different calls and stuff from the Ostranders and myself concerning this piece of property. The court order asked that when I was going to approach the property, would I give the Blackman Township a call and tell them that I was going to be there, and I did that. And of course, Mrs. Ostrander had called quite a few times. But to say the least, Mr. Grumhouse asked that in his reports that Harold be charged with felon in possession of a weapon, not a firearm, a weapon, racial intimidation, and felon in possession of and they received I guess Judge Phillip and gave him a personal recognizance bond, and we've been arguing back and forth, but Harold, I think, has finally moved out and we've moved on, so
well, let me.
But the case still remains.
All right, hold on a minute.
Okay.
Are the Ostranders still living at this address?
I think the Ostranders moved Monday and took the locks off the doors. The police officer called somebody at 2:00 in the morning and said that the back door, well, it wasn't a back door. There were a 4x8 sheet of plywood over the back door. And that piece of plywood or something had been knocked off. But to my record and to my knowledge, they had taken all of their bedding and everything out of the house. So
let me stop you for
ahead.
just a minute, because this will help me. Mrs. Ostrander, have you in fact moved out of this house?
My wife has moved out. I haven't. I'm per the PPO. I'm not allowed on the property. So I've been staying in my car.
So your wife has moved out. Were you telling me you would like to move back in?
Yes, sir. I paid the Tim Grinsky $7,000 at the beginning of our lease for the whole 18 months, and I feel that I should be able to stay at the place because I paid the money.
Your position, you paid in advance for an 18-month lease.
Yes, sir, I did.
How many months did you actually live there?
I got what month is March? It was till I think August or October.
October of this current year?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll come back to that. I just wanted to clarify your status with the property. Okay, let's go back to Mr. Gibson. So it appears that while Ms. Ostrander has moved out, Mr. Ostrander hasn't. At least he hasn't yielded up voluntarily possession of the house.
Well, I'm unaware of Mr. Ostrander's position, period, because all the furniture and everything is out of the house. He and his dad had moved all the furniture out. So I don't know what his case would be. The inspectors, Judge Phillip gave a order that we could enter on the 10th at 10 o'clock, and we did, and the house was so horrible that even the inspectors did not want to stay in it very long. There's garbage was all over the place. The doors had been broken in. The bathroom, though there was water, you had to plug in the water pump to flush a toilet or to have running water. And there's reports. The Blackman Township police, when they went in, told of the conditions. There were like 80 or 90 bags of garbage and dog pee all over the house.
When did they go in? Do you know?
Yes, sir. I'm looking at it right now. They went in 3/18.
Oh, way back when the incident first happened.
Yes, yes.
All right, I thought
They
you.
went back in. Okay, yeah, the 10th of this month. We went back in, and the house, Leone Township is considering condemning because of the condition of the house, the plumbing, the water heater, the garbage, and some structural problems. The electricity is horrible, and it had been patched, and we had, let's see, Bruton Electric was there. Dave from Liberty Plumbing said that the house was so horrible that he wouldn't even send his men in until the house was clean. And I guess the plumbing runs underneath the foundation. And it's leaking because the big water tank, the pressure tank is broken. So all of those things into consideration, it makes that house, I guess Harold has taken all the kitchen cabinets and stuff out. And there's no, I don't know, the windows are boarded up. It's a horrible situation.
Okay.
And it's uninhabitable, really, the way it is.
What is your plan for the property? And I don't mean dates and times or anything like that. Is your goal to secure possession and make it livable so that it's usable as a lake property?
Yes, sir. That is my sole purpose, not to resell or anything else. Merrill is the pastor at Mount Hope Church. My daughter, and we all came to the conclusion that this is a beautiful piece of property if we could fix it up and maintain it. And we talked to all the neighbors out there, and this has been a perpetual, it's a continuous problem. The garage is horrible and falling down, and I asked the inspectors why would this property all of a sudden now become, because I'm getting bills now for sewer and stuff from Harold and his wife.
Well, let me jump forward. The purpose of a PPO is to prohibit violence and to prohibit harassment. The purpose of a PPO is not to evict somebody from property. We have legal remedies that are available for removing somebody from property where if they don't have a right to be there. We don't use PPOs for that purpose.
Well, this is not, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Clearly, there were behaviors that you've described that Mr. Ostrander engaged in that might very well justify issuance of a PPO to make sure that he doesn't come around you, to make sure that he's not harassing or threatening you. But I haven't heard anything to suggest that there ever should have been a PPO issued against Mrs. Ostrander.
Well, Mrs. Ostrander was there.
I get
doing
that.
The same thing. I mean, she was.
She didn't wave a gun at you, correct?
She was screaming and hollering niggers and all of that. And Mrs. Ostrander has locked the police out when we asked to go in the house.
She may very well have done that, but that's not the proper subject of a PPO. I can certainly issue a
Mrs. Ostrander was there arguing and fighting with us, screaming and hollering and calling us niggers and bitches right along with Harold at the same time. And yes, it's most appropriate.
Actually, it's not. This is not the proper remedy to obtain possession of real estate. There are legal remedies available to do that. A PPO is not the proper vehicle for accomplishing that. If these PPOs had been presented to me initially, I would have denied them. And I'm going to dismiss them today. I am very sympathetic, sir, to what you've described, and there are remedies to prohibit or address the things you've described. A PPO's purpose is very limited and very specific. You could have completely avoided having any of this happen simply by not going on the property and not returning to the property except when you have a legally enforceable right to do that. That's the recourse that you have. That's the steps you need to take. I'm dismissing both PPOs today.
You got paperwork, Your Honor?
Your Honor, can I talk for a minute, please?
I'm dismissing the PPOs, sir. That's the end of my involvement.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Jeez. If he thought he had a conflict, why did he go ahead and issue the PPOs? And I get stuck with the mess. These never should have been issued.
But do you have your orders?
I do. Well, I've got one. Let me fill this out.
Okay, just let me know if you need one, because I can do one right here.
Yeah, I've got this one. Let me finish filling it out. Yeah, I've got paperwork for both.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna write a note on this file. Okay, put these,
Do you want the other Golden Gibson one?
did you take it?
Yep.
Yeah, I want these to go together
Yep.
downstairs with this note. So put a rubber band around both of them. All right, let's see. We've got Gant versus Oliver. Seven, 4, 7, 3, 6, 1, 5. Okay. Is this Ms. Gant? Can you hear me? I just let a telephone number into my courtroom. Well, let's try dialing and see if that works. Ms. Gant?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought we didn't have you there. This is the matter of Gant versus Oliver. I can't tell if Mr. Oliver is present or not. I've got an iPhone logged in and I've got another telephone number. Let me find out who those people are. Telephone number ending in 9427. What is your name?
Corey Brown.
Okay, Mr. Brown, I'm putting a name with your screen so I know who you are, and I'm going to put you back in the waiting room. I'll call your case when it's time.
Already.
So, Ms. Gant, I'm waiting. I'm trying to let another unidentified device in so I can find out who it is, but we're having
Okay.
trouble making a connection with them. So, just sit tight.
Okay.
I have someone logged in under iPhone. If you can hear me, could you tell me your name, please? I have someone logged in under iPhone. If you can hear me, could you tell me your name, please?
Antonio
Excuse me.
Oliver.
Oh, okay. We got the right person.
All right.
Mr. Oliver, Ms. Gant is also present. This is a matter of Gant versus Oliver. She has filed, excuse me, a motion to terminate an ex parte PPO. And wants to set it aside so the two of you can co-parent your daughters. So give me just a moment to look at the petition to see why I entered this in the first place. So Ms. Gant, you indicate in the petition that you and Mr. Oliver got in an argument a couple weeks before you filed for the petition. You asked him to leave, and he wouldn't. And then he pushed you down while you were holding your 7-month-old child, and that he choked you. Let's see, the police were called, and it looks like you ended up leaving the home that night. Was Mr. Oliver arrested by the police?
No, he wasn't.
And then there was an earlier incident back in March where he made threats to you. It doesn't look like there was any actual physical violence then, although you got scared. And let's see, it looks like he's been coming around your house. At the time of the incident that happened on Irving Street, were both of you residing in that home together?
Yes, we were.
And your desire is that I terminate this PPO so that he can move back in?
Yes.
What makes you think he's not going to get upset with you and do similar things again in the future?
I think me getting the PPO on him in the first place, it showed him that I'm not gonna allow any of the stuff that, like, any drama.
Is there any other children in the home besides the 7-month-old?
Yes, I have a 6-year-old too.
Is Mr. Oliver the father of the 6-year-old?
Not biological, but he's been there since she was born.
Where was the 6-year-old when this first incident, or I'm sorry, with the incident that happened just before you asked for the PPO?
She was home, but she was upstairs.
Has she witnessed arguments between you and Mr. Oliver?
Yeah.
I need to tell you that domestic violence and shouting and arguing, etc., is very damaging to young children. They don't understand how to process it. They often end up blaming themselves, and they often develop serious psychological issues if they're exposed to that over an extended period of time. That's why when CPS becomes aware that there's domestic violence ongoing in a home, and parents that aren't willing to do something to address it, they will actually remove your children from your care. It's a very, very serious matter, and I take it seriously. I'm troubled that you think just because you got a PPO that's going to convince Mr. Oliver that he can't behave like this in the future. Have you ever received any kind of counseling for domestic violence, ma'am?
No.
And Mr. Oliver, have you received any kind of counseling for domestic violence or anger management, anything like that?
No, sir.
Before I'm willing to set aside this PPO, I want to see that something has happened that gives me confidence that this isn't going to be repeated. So what I want you to do, Ms. Gant, I want you to make an appointment with the Aware Shelter. They provide domestic violence counseling there. I want you to make an appointment with them. I want you to go through whatever counseling they recommend. And once you've had a chance to go through that counseling, if they feel that you're ready to resume a relationship with Mr. Oliver, I want you to get a letter from them. And then I want you to refile your motion to terminate the PPO and attach that. And I might be willing to consider at that time. I don't have any confidence here that this kind of behavior isn't going to be repeated the next time Mr. Oliver gets angry or upset with you for some reason. And I don't want to expose your children to that. So I'm denying the request today. But if you do go forward and get some counseling so that you understand this, and I have some assurance from someone other than just you that you understand, and this isn't going to, your children aren't going to be exposed to this again. At that point, I might be willing to set aside the PPO. But for now, I'm going to keep it in place.
Okay.
Yes, I have an order.
Okay.
Okay, next up is Benton versus Benton. All right, looks like I've got a connection with everyone. This is the matter of Benton versus Benton. Ms. Dinky represents the respondents. And I know we have a motion for an order to show cause for an alleged violation filed by Ms. Amber Benton. Is there also a motion to terminate, Ms. Dinky?
Your Honor, we had filed a motion to terminate previously. The court had denied it, but had allowed my client to return to the home, to pack, and to move. She has now done that. The accusation is that there were problems when she was moving out. You should hopefully have in your waiting room Kim Miller and 6 police officers, because there were police officers there both days while my client was moving. But frankly, the allegations in the petition aren't violations of the PPO. Third parties aren't covered by the PPO. property damage, which my client denies, but even if it occurred, not covered by the PPO. So I don't think we need to do a hearing if you actually look at what Ms. Amber Benton has alleged as the violations of the PPO.
All right, I'm seeing in the waiting room, I've got Kim's Galaxy.
That's probably Kim Miller.
Okay, and I don't see that there are any police officers waiting out there.
Oh dear. Then we might have to ask to adjourn it. I dropped off subpoenas on the 9th.
What are the names of the officers?
Deputy Reed, Deputy Denoyer, Deputy Carafino, Deputy Collins, Deputy Moore, and Deputy Shaddis. May
All right,
19th, I dropped off those subpoenas.
I do have Andrea Denoyer present.
Okay.
All right, let me take a quick look at the motion. So I did amend the PPO to allow the respondent to return to the premises, but I didn't amend against confronting in a public place or on private property. It sounds like the allegations, absolutely the property damage wouldn't be a violation of the PPO, but confronting on private property is still prohibited by the PPO.
It's a little hard
like
to,
at least
it's hard to tell if she's talking about other people or if she's talking about my client, because other people wouldn't be, and I don't believe my client ever spoke to her. But
I
the
agree.
police would have arrested, I would have expected, but
the only person whose conduct is restricted by the PPO is the respondent. And let's see. It does say Jody Benton, along with a bunch of other people, made derogatory and threatening remarks to me while moving their belongings out. Flipping her off is not prohibited. Destroying property is not prohibited. And I can't tell from this allegation what exactly it is she's claiming that Jody Benton did, but the reality is they've moved out. there's no reason for Ms. Jody Benton to be anywhere near this property again in the future.
That's correct.
Is it really necessary for me to take any action here, I guess? So Ms. Amber Benton, what is it you want me to do?
I want her to know that there's consequences to her actions. She had no right calling me a bitch, flipping me off. She could have got her stuff in silence, but didn't. She was trying to instigate me, and my husband was there to witness all of it.
All right. So, Ms. Danke, as I'm sure you're aware, when a respondent appears with counsel in opposition to a motion for order to show cause, Ms. Amber Benton, the petitioner, is entitled to be represented by the prosecutor's office. So since the prosecutor's office didn't have advance notice of this, obviously no one's here. I don't have any choice but to adjourn this. Can we reschedule it for next Thursday? Does that work for you, Ms. Danke?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's set it for 10 o'clock a week from today. Ms. Amber Benton, a representative from the prosecuting attorney's office, will be present at least by Zoom. You'll have an opportunity to confer with that assistant prosecuting attorney, and we'll decide what to do about this in a week from today. So
Can we bring the witnesses in to let them know?
Yes, it looks Andrea Denoyer and Kim, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I please have that file so I can let Kaylee know?
Of course you can, as soon as I'm done with it. Okay, Officer or Deputy Denoyer, we're going to adjourn this for 1 week. The petitioner is entitled to be represented by the prosecutor's office, and there's no one here today from the prosecutor's office. So I'm just going to continue your subpoena to next Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy, if you could
You're
give
welcome.
my office a call, please.
Yes, is it the number that's on the subpoena?
Yes, thank you.
I will, thank you.
We can call Kim Miller directly if she's having problems with her audio.
Yeah, we're having trouble making a connection, so I'll just remove her and have you get a hold of her then.
Jody, can you please give Kim a call and then I'll talk to you later? All right,
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. And let's see. This is the matter of Brown versus Brown. Before I address that, the matter of Curtis versus Adams was also scheduled for 10:30. No one has appeared on that matter. Well, I guess it was scheduled for a review hearing. I can only assume that things must be going smoothly. So I won't take any action on that file. Okay, and Brown versus Brown. Give me a moment to review the summary that I got from the referee. I did look at it yesterday, but I need to have my memory refreshed. Okay, so Ms. Brown has filed a motion seeking to suspend Mr. Brown's parenting time because of his drug and other concerning behaviors. Mr. Brown denies the behaviors he's been accused of. Obviously, with the exception of a incident for which he was placed on probation by Judge Jordan recently. And I'm assuming Mr. Brown, you oppose having your parenting time suspended.
Correct.
When I have disputed facts, I don't have any choice but to conduct an evidentiary hearing, but the behaviors are concerning. So I want to at least address what is currently happening. So let me just ask you, Ms. Brown, when's the last time Mr. Brown actually had parenting time with Addison and Amelia?
It was sometime in early September.
So your allegations include both drug use, which appears at least currently being monitored by virtue of his probation, where he's being regularly tested. So I would assume the drug use alone, given the fact that he's being monitored and tested, is less a concern. The other behaviors you complained about were some mental health related issues.
Yes, he is having hallucinations and hearing things, which has become my bigger priority of concern with my daughters as to what he hears. He called the police on us at 3:00 in the morning, a couple days before Christmas, and told them that I killed everybody in the house. So they did a welfare check at 3:00 in the morning. So what is he seeing in regards to my children? I know that the referee asked him if he hears things or sees things, and he said no. But when he broke the restraining order and we were in front of you for the PPO violation, he pled guilty. And I remember one of the questions you asked him was, did anybody tell you to say this or anybody promise you anything? And his question to you was, do you mean the voices in my head? So he's lying that he's not hearing voices, because he is. He said that he has never been diagnosed with a mental health history or diagnosis, and he isn't on meds. So it concerns me. His mom said that he can handle them pretty well by himself, but if they are in reference to anything that do with my daughters, then he gets really upset. So I don't know what he would do if he had my children. I mean, and the voices told him to do something to them or take them somewhere. I just don't know how safe that would be. So that is pretty much my biggest concern.
There was a period of time when he was getting parenting time supervised by his mother.
Yes. That was how it was before.
Is that something that you would be comfortable with?
Well, my concern is I don't know what he would do. Like I said, if the voice tells him in his head to, take the girls in the car and drive off, his mom's not going to be able to stop him. I don't know. That is my biggest concern. Like, what are the voices going to tell him to do? What is he seeing? I mean, if you're calling the police saying that I killed them, you know, he's done it to his parents too, where he's seen, you know, he's seen that his parents are hanging from the ceiling dead, and he went down to the neighbors and called the police then too. How is somebody gonna manage that? They're gonna make sure my kids are okay in that. You're not on medicine, you're not on therapy, you're denying that these are happening now, even though when you were in jail recently, you supposedly you came out of jail with medicine. Then you tell the referee you've never heard voices and you've never been diagnosed. My concern is it's going to fall through the cracks, and my girls are going to be the ones that get the, you know, what if he tells them to kill my kids? Like, I would never be able to live with that, knowing that I am not trying to do everything I can right now to keep my kids safe.
So, Ms. Brown, what do you know about whatever medication it was that he was taking in the past?
I know that he got put in jail for the felonies that he had, and that when he got out, his mom told me that he was on medicine. However, when he got out, he tried looking for a doctor and nobody would prescribe him the medicine again. And as she just kept telling me that he's still not on the medicine. He's still not on any medicine. And from what he told the referee 2 weeks ago, doesn't sound to me like he has any intention of getting back on the medicine. I think they told me it was like for bipolar and schizophrenia. But again, that's just through his mom. Every time I asked, what was he diagnosed with? Is this something that isn't because of the drugs? It is more of a historical thing that I need to worry about hereditarily giving down to my daughters. Nobody can give me an answer because I don't think he has really been diagnosed with something by a legal professional.
So, how old are your daughters?
11 and 7.
And I see you've been divorced for a few years now, but obviously you were together for a while.
Yes, we've been together for a really long time.
Did you see the behaviors when you were together?
No. We divorced because of drug issues, and I didn't see any of those issues then. And he was doing really good. Before September, he had the girls often because he was on probation again. He went through rehab, got clean, was doing really good. He spent a lot of time with the girls, more than what his parenting time allowed for or gave him. He had a ton. He had a great relationship with the girls. But it wasn't until he started seeing things and doing these things that it put my daughters in jeopardy. And his mother, who was supervised at the time, also agreed that the girls should not be around him right now. And I wholeheartedly feel that if that was the case back in September and nothing has changed since then, why is it okay to now put him in? Just because it's been a long time? I mean, there's a letter from Addie's therapist that I submitted to Corey and I sent to your assistant or secretary that also says the same thing. Like, Corey had been an active person in their life. And I'm never the parent that wants to take them from that, but I need to know my kids are going to be safe. And that's why I'm not canceling parenting. I'm just suspending it until Corey gets the help he needs that ensures my children are going to be safe.
So, Mr. Brown, is it your position that Liz is just making all this stuff up?
I be honest with you, I don't know where she gets this from and where my mom gets this stuff from, but it's not true.
There are police reports. I mean, and there also was the time that like he violated the PPO in front of you. He asked, you know, do the voices count as people telling him what to do?
I put no context on that.
So, Mr. Brown, have you ever had a psychological assessment?
No.
From what Ms. Brown is telling me, that when you're in a good state of mind, she wants the girls to see you. That there was a period of time when you were doing really well, and she gave you even more time than she was required to. It sounds like she really does want you in her daughter's lives, but she wants to know that you're safe. When I hear that from a mom, it really gives me actually great confidence that I can believe her when she says, this has got to be addressed. I'm worried that when I've seen these things, particularly the thing that happened around Christmas time, that's pretty scary stuff to a mother. Do you deny that even happened?
Yeah, let's get real here. Let's technically say I do see this stuff or hear this stuff. That's gonna make me, unfit to be able to be around my daughters. I mean,
not necessarily,
you get where I'm
sir.
coming from. I mean, okay, if I hear voices, big whoop-de-doo. People hear. If you look up the facts of life of how people hear voices and the reasons why they hear voices, people don't just act out, because of voices. You know what I mean? It doesn't put their kids at risk. It's actually a normal human thing if you actually look it up and do a little research. So I mean, if she wants to throw shade at me about hearing stuff and seeing stuff about kids not being safe, that is totally untrue. She's all basing this stuff off from what she hears from my mom, and she's bringing in a third party, which doesn't even need to be in between us. And I can't even contact my ex-wife Elizabeth because of the PPO order. So there's like no communication. So there's a huge, big, there's a link between our communications of two co-parents. We can't communicate with each other. So there's this big gap of information and communication between people. That's why we're in the predicament we're in, because we're trying to have a mediator of my mom, which would be the last person in the world who we should be having to go in between us as far as what's going on, what's not going on, to be, having information and, that kind of stuff between, two co-parents, it doesn't work.
Let me stop you for just a minute. So, Ms. Brown, tell me again what it was that he did back around the Christmas holiday.
He called the police telling them that I had killed the girls and they needed to go do a welfare check on us. So it was either 2 or 3 in the morning, 3 police officers were standing in my daughter's bedrooms as they woke up because they needed to verify that my kids were awake.
Mr. Brown, how do you explain that kind of behavior?
I was just concerned about my kids' welfare because she wouldn't let me see them, wouldn't let me talk to them, and I just had a overwhelming feeling that there was something wrong with them. I mean, when your kids are yanked from you, where you can't see them, you can't talk to them, and you can't even talk to the mom to figure out what the heck's going on. You know what I mean? I just felt that there was something wrong. Felt like someone needed to go over there and check. My parents wouldn't communicate with me. She wouldn't communicate with me. I couldn't see him physically. So I did what any father would do. I just felt that there was something wrong. I mean, it's a father's intuition. I mean, you can't just sit there and say it's a voice thing or I'm hearing stuff or seeing this, that. I mean, it was a gut feeling that there was something wrong. I mean, is that against the law? Is that against the rules that a father wants to know that his kids are being okay, that they're really safe and they're okay? I mean, imagine having your kids ripped from you where you can't see them or you can't talk to them all of a sudden and you don't, you know what I mean? You can't communicate with their mom. I mean, it's like they disappeared.
Hold on. It is not a normal thing to call the police at 2:00 in the morning asking them to go to your children's home to do a welfare check just because you got a feeling something might be wrong. That's not normal at all.
Intuition, sorry to tell you. When you have your kids yanked from you and been through what I've been through with them being yanked and no communication, it's pretty scary stuff.
The girls were not yanked from him. He, again,
Yes,
started
they
using
were.
the girls. He started using meth and started having the hallucinations in September. Visitations had stopped then. However, the girls and I still went over to their house. We still went over on Halloween, which was in October, to show them the costumes and get candy from them. I still tried to keep them, but the more I saw that things were going crazy when he would start showing up to my house and then accuse my neighbor of sexually assaulting his daughter and all of those things, it showed me that our lives were a little bit more in jeopardy and the damage she was doing to my daughters became more severe. And that's when I got the restraining order.
So let me ask Ms. Brown. I understand Mr. Brown's frustration not being able to see his children. And I understand from what you've already told me that if he were in a good place, you wouldn't have any problem with it at all. You encourage it. So I'm wondering until we can get to a point where you and I feel that Mr. Corey Brown is back in a good place, can we at least put something in place so that he can see his girls?
Can we do like a Zoom conference?
Well, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. I realize that I don't have the PPO file in front of me, so I don't know exactly what it says, but I can certainly modify the PPO to allow him to participate in Zoom conferences. So at least he has some contact with his daughters. I think as long as he's behaving himself during those conferences, which you would have complete control over, if he starts, saying things that are irrational or even scary to the kids, you can terminate the call.
Okay.
But assuming he's interacting properly, I'm assuming the girls would like to see their dad at least.
I know my
dad
oldest.
Would like to,
I can tell you, my oldest. She really right now voices to me that she does not want to until dad is healthy. My youngest one, she does. My youngest one misses him, and I know my oldest one misses him too. She's just very scared. So I'm more than willing. We did a Zoom for our youngest one's birthday back in April with him as well. So I am fine with Zooms. That would makes me feel great. Like I feel like that would be a really good start.
So, Mr. Brown, I noticed from whatever I think was in the summary that you are not currently employed by an employer, correct?
No, which I don't know why that's even being brought up, but correct.
Well, it's because I'm trying to figure out what kind of resources you've got, and that will determine what I might end up ordering. If you had health insurance, it might cover something that I would order. If you don't have health insurance, paying for it out of pocket is going to be a pretty steep challenge. That's why I'm asking.
I have Medicaid.
You have what?
I have Medicaid.
You have Medicaid?
I have insurance. Yes, I have insurance.
Well, I'm not sure they would pay for what I'm thinking about ordering. Sir, it's whether it's a danger to your children or not, you understand that hearing voices is not normal. That if you're hearing voices, there's something going on that probably should be explored by a mental health professional. I'm not asking you to admit that. Have you ever had any interaction with Lifeways?
Yep, been down there numerous times, and they don't seem to. They don't have a concern with it. I don't get nowhere with them, so it's just a dead end. Been down there numerous times, against my will and voluntarily.
And they've never recommended that you talk to a therapist or that you talk to a physician and get medication to help address whatever issues it is they think you're experiencing?
Nope, not once. I've been down there a handful of times.
When's the last time you were down there?
I mean, just to appease my mother and my ex-wife, because they all think to be medical experts and I need to be on medication, because the medication doesn't do jack. Oh, sorry, excuse me. The medication does not do anything for me. When I was in jail, they put me on some psychotic medications, and it didn't. I still hear voices. I mean, big deal. It's normal for some people. It doesn't put my kids at harm. It doesn't. I mean, it is what it is. Medications don't do anything.
Here's what I'm going to do. Since you've got Medicaid, I am going to order that you have regular video conferences with your daughters so you can start seeing them again and talking to them. I'm going to let Ms. Brown regulate that. You absolutely can't be abusive or threatening to her during those Zoom conferences, because obviously she's the one that's going to have to moderate them to make sure they happen. I'm also going to order that you be evaluated at Lifeways to determine whether or not they believe that you are a danger to yourself or others, and particularly to your children, and that they submit a report to me so that I can see that.
Okay.
I think Ms. Brown has told me enough today that I've got a level of concern that I just want to make sure that I don't put your daughters in any kind of danger. I realize you say it's normal to hear voices. I'm telling you, sir, it's not normal. Whether or not it's dangerous is really the question before me. And I think the best way to evaluate that is to have a mental health professional evaluate you. So that's what I'm going to do. Pardon?
So that's the thing. I've never put my kids at harm, my ex-wife at harm, my parents at harm. I mean, this is all just over, me, when you have your kids ripped away and you can't communicate with anybody, automatically your mind starts thinking the worst. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like your kid's been kidnapped from you. And you get what I'm saying? Like, you see how the correlation here, it's not, I haven't ever put her at harm or kids at harm. I've never acted out in front of them. Nothing that would ever cause any mental distress or concern for their safety. I mean, that's what I don't understand. Like, I mean, what's video conferencing going to do? Like, kids are supposed to be with their father. It's called interaction. I mean, it's almost like they're putting me on an island and not, you know what I mean, not giving me my rights.
Mr. Brown, it is not my intention that the only time you're ever going to see your kids again is on a video conference. That is not my intention. The reason I say video conference is it's something that can happen immediately, and I feel comfortable until I can get some verification from a mental health professional, as opposed to a layperson who's just afraid for her children. So that's what I'm going to order.
All right.
I'll put it. The order will be specific. I'll also make sure that there's modifications to the PPO so that you don't get in any kind of trouble for doing this. And we'll get that order out to both of you. Mom, let's see. Mr. Brown, are you still living at the South Harrington address in Parma?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll try to get something out as quickly as I can. You don't, Ms. Brown, you don't have to wait until you see an order to do a video conference if you feel comfortable. I would, but I'll make sure we get an order in place so that we know what the boundaries are. And let's move forward. Let's see if we can fix this. That's my objective.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you both. Have a good day.